Hey everyone, it's John here from Optic Hockey, back with another video. This video is on the Montreal Canadiens and potential trade targets for them over the next year. I just made a Montreal video kind of recently and talking about their future and how their rebuild could get boosted, could get accelerated based on who they draft, like where they fall in the draft lottery next year, 2023, who they sign potentially, who they move. Like, there's going to be probably a bunch of HABS players that get moved out. So what I'm going to do is, for Montreal, a team that is going through a rebuild right now, but I think it could get accelerated, honestly, quicker than we think. And I want to go through every team and give Montreal opportunities here, because I've predicted a couple of Montreal trades in the past, and I'm just intrigued by Montreal, and I think Kent Hughes has done a really good job so far. I think the HABS could be really, really busy over the next calendar year. So give me your thoughts, guys, as I go through the players. Hit that subscribe button if you're new. I really do appreciate it. Hit the like button. The likes do help as well. Notification bell, all that good stuff. Let's get into it. So, starting with Anaheim, alphabetical here. Maxime Comtois, that little hometown represent. That would be cool. That would be a cool target for Montreal. If Comtois can't really get going with Anaheim, I think they could look at him as a target. Arizona, I'm going to go through some names here just as I go through teams, as guys similar to what Montreal did with Kirby Dach. I think Kent Hughes will try to target guys that maybe haven't worked out their situation perfectly, especially Kirby Dach's a perfect example. They went out, they got Kirby Dach, and they're betting on Kirby Dach working out in a change of scenery and working out to what his potential was supposed to be. And looking at Arizona, Barrett Hayton could be a target like that. I think looking at the Detroit Red Wings, Philip Zadina could be an example of that. Looking at the Edmonton Oilers, Jesse Puljujarvi could be an example of that. I think there's a bunch of names like that that could be a target of the Montreal Canadiens, and maybe they have ready roster players in return for those guys. And I think it could be a scenario where Montreal gets the most out of those youngish players still that haven't worked out in their current situation. Looking at the Buffalo Sabres, I don't think there's too much, it's a division team. I think with Buffalo Sabres, Boston Bruins, Toronto Maple Leafs, some of these teams, you're most likely not going to see Montreal trade with them. But, a Casey Middlestat's another interesting name. We'll see where he reaches his potential over the next year or two, where he gets to kind of thing. Montreal could be a team in that. Carolina Hurricanes, with all the shenanigans, all the drama with Sebastian Aho, I don't know if Montreal and Carolina are ever making a trade anytime soon, but I will say, dream scenario, I'd just love to see Montreal trying to take a shot at Ryan Suzuki, trying to trade for Ryan Suzuki and get the Suzuki brothers together. I think that'd be a lot of fun. If Montreal had a player that Carolina was targeting, Montreal, Kent Hughes could fully be like, yo, we're not giving you this guy unless you entertain Ryan Suzuki to Montreal. So, if they tried to target Ryan Suzuki for trade, maybe Carolina sees a guy in Montreal that they go, oh, we'd really like this guy on our team. Calgary Flames, I think there's a couple of guys there. If Valimaki doesn't get a roster spot, I think Valimaki could be a target for Montreal. They're trying to add some guys maybe on the defense. I think Dylan Dubé could be another example there of a guy that Montreal looks at still mid-20s. I think there could be a swap there if Calgary had some interest in one of Montreal's guys. I think Chicago's an interesting one. I don't know if Chicago and Montreal being in similar scenarios right now. I think Chicago's about to, if they trade Patty Kane, they're about to be way farther behind than Montreal. But I think Columbus, not really. As I said, Detroit, I could see them targeting a Zadina or Rasmussen or something. Dallas, I kind of talked about it already. If Dallas needed to dump that Hudobin contract, they could convince Montreal to take it and attach a draft pick to it, and maybe Montreal just does that, and also in a corresponding move, trade Jake Allen, and then you'd have actually maybe some use for Hudobin. I don't know, but I could see Montreal, like I said, trading Jake Allen. Edmonton Oilers, I've talked about Puljujarvi. As I said, if it's an incentive move that benefits Montreal longer term, I could see them taking back Fogle or something. I've talked about the Tyson Barrie target, so Fabro with Nashville could be an interesting one if Montreal's trying to add on that right side. If Florida was willing to sauce over some picks, maybe Montreal would give Florida a player with less cap hit and maybe take the last year of the Hornquist contract. I think Beauvillier, we've talked about Beauvillier's connection with Montreal. I wonder if the Islanders and Habs could make some kind of trade. Maybe it's not Beauvillier, maybe it's one of the other guys. Outside of that, maybe a Dumba, and maybe it's not necessarily through a trade. Maybe Dumba's a target for Montreal in free agency. I could even see John Klingberg being a target for Montreal in free agency. Klingberg and Dumba have been kind of that defenseman that Montreal's been looking for. That's why there was Tyson Barrie rumors to Montreal. So Klingberg and Dumba, probably not a trade scenario because Montreal, I mean, unless they are pushing for playoffs, but I think that's not what a lot of people are expecting. But Dumba and Klingberg could be two targets for Montreal through free agency. So maybe not just discussing trade targets here, maybe free agency as well. And then looking at maybe the LA Kings for Montreal, I mean, maybe they look at like a Gabe Vilardi if Vilardi can't fit well. I mean, there's a lot of competition ahead of Vilardi, so again, that's another guy that, I mean, maybe Montreal could take advantage of. Just to skim through a few more guys, like, I wonder if, looking at the Pittsburgh Penguins, I mean, they just made a trade with the Pens. Could they target one of the guys there? Like, if Kapanen needed a change of scenery again, or like looking at Pierre-Olivier Joseph, I mean, I think Montreal would love to have a guy like that. St. Louis Blues, if they're trying to dump the contract of Scandella, or if the Ottawa Senators, which I think they are, trying to dump the contract of Zaitsev, maybe two of those teams, or like one of those teams, I mean, could give Montreal incentive. Like, for example, if Ottawa was willing to take the contract of like Joel Armia, for example, and then plus sent a draft pick to Montreal, maybe Montreal would be willing to take the last couple of years of Zaitsev's contract. Outside of that, I mean, they could also look at Formanton, I guess, but we'll wait and see what that situation is. San Jose, not too sure there. I mean, we've talked about Dubois with Winnipeg. I don't know if that's going to end up materializing because, I mean, Dubois, through his agent, made that pretty public. Vancouver, I mean, maybe Vancouver and Montreal can make a trade. Seattle, maybe. Toronto, hey, I mean, if Montreal, you want Justin Hall, go for it. But outside of that, guys, I think Montreal, my point on this video is I just want to go over some players, more specifically the guys I said that could use a change of scenery. I just think there's a lot of guys out there that Kent Hughes will be looking at and trying to do that Kirby Doc method. I think that's what I've kind of learned here so far from Kent Hughes is asset management, gathering picks, and I think trying to find kind of that, whether it's the diamond in the rough or just a guy that has more potential than he's showing with this current situation. So give me your thoughts, guys, on what you think Montreal's going to do, who they could target. These are just a few names. I'll probably add more on the board for Montreal, or more guys that maybe for Habs fans. This is just your perspective on, I'm giving you guys some ideas on what maybe you can see your team get or target. So thank you so much, guys. Subscribe, like, comment, notification bell. This was John from Montreal.